So basically we have the Investment Fund for Developing Countries as well as the European Union bringing a total of 17 million euros into ABI finance. They're each bringing 8.7 million, but the European Union component has an element of technical assistance. So the bulk of it will go towards the commercial investments that we make in terms of lines of credit and agricultural credit guarantees. And then 1.2 million of that will contribute to what we do in terms of technical assistance, where we build the capacities of the financial institutions by both skill as well as physical and ICT capacity in order to dispense or deliver agribusiness financing properly, that's serviceable, that's and repairable and sustainable. First of all, Agribusiness Initiative, Agricultural Business Initiative, ABI, was set up in perpetuity. So we're not a program, we're a company limited by shares, on ABI Finance, and a company limited by guarantee with ABI Development set up in perpetuity. So what that means for like an investment like this, these are new shareholders to the organization, to ABI Finance. Again, speaks to the long-term nature of the investment of the partnership. So it's not a donation, it's not a short-term grant. It really is investing for the future, investing in ABI's future. And at the core of all our interventions, ABI, are the smallholder farmers and are the agribusinesses. However, we work through implementing partners. We work through the private sector. And our reason for that is very simple. We want to ensure that the private sector is well equipped, well poised to serve smallholder farmers and agribusinesses who are already part of the ecosystem. And we don't lend them money for lending's sake. We ensure that at the end of that are smallholder farmers and agribusinesses. So we sit down with the banks and tailor these lines of credit that are going to be passed along via the financial institution. So they'll borrow from us because we're a wholesale lender to them. And then we craft and discuss the right type of financing that should reach the smallholder farmer. And that's where the technical assistance comes in that I spoke about earlier. Sometimes there's need to train the bankers and to build their capacities in developing the right products, in reaching the right segments of society. Sometimes you need to tailor a product to reach women, to reach youth, to reach families in general, to go to hard to reach areas. Digitizing is key, and it is something that we provide in our technical assistance because it helps bring down the cost of lending. An example that was used by one of our partners was they dispense 100,000 type shilling loans and spend about 20 to 30,000 of that going out to the fields to appraise and to monitor them. So digitization is an intervention we think that could help bring down the cost of borrowing and the cost of doing business for the financial institutions, and you have a win-win. If it's healthy business for the financial institution, they'll also be able to provide the financing onto the smallholder farmer and the agribusiness at a more affordable, a more competitive rate. So it's a win-win. The smallholder farmers and the agribusinesses are accessing the finance more competitively. I don't want to say cheap because that would be a wrong connotation, but it's more competitive, it's more adapted to the situation, and the financial institutions as well will be that much more efficient and therefore managing their costs. Their margins are decent and it's sustainable all around. At the core, as I mentioned, of all our interventions are smallholder farmers and agribusinesses. And it's not just that with this component of investment that there's a component of green, it's ABI's entire focus. Why? As I mentioned earlier in the main event, Uganda, like any other country, has not been spared the ravages of climate change. Statistics are showing us that we are the 12th most vulnerable out of 195 countries when it comes to the effects of climate change, but the 49th least prepared to adapt and to adapt and to manage the effects and the impact of climate change. So our investments, our focus is increasingly turning towards climate adaptation, climate change adaptation, climate change mitigation, to try and ensure that Uganda is well poised. One, stop being as vulnerable to climate change, and even then be prepared to deal with the eventualities.